We are Astrid and Andre, and we will be talking about our stance against torture according to a natural law. To begin, Andreas Mayer, in his book Humiliation. No, okay, ya lo dijo. A ver, perdón.
No te preocupes.
Okay, a ver. We are Astrid and Andre, and we will be presenting our stance against torture according to natural law. First of all, Andreas Mayer, in his article Humiliation, Degradation, Dehumanization, and Human Dignity, presents that torture implies that the will of the torturer is inflicted and forced upon the victim. And his view aligns with natural law, which states that human beings are ends in themselves and not a means to an end. And so Mayer presents the main argument against torture because of human dignity. For him, there is a correct way of interacting with each other, which implies that we view each other as moral beings, and this means that we are entitled to a justification for whatever damage we inflict upon each other. And so, in the case of torture, the victim is excluded from this view, and the torturer inflicts harm against the victim without any need of justification, and this is what violates human dignity. And so, as Thomas Aquinas stated in his Summa Theologica, laws are based in our ability to rationally participate, recognize, and respect human dignity without violating it under any circumstance, as torture. Kramer is another philosopher who has addressed torture in his book Torture and Moral Integrity. In this book, he does talk about extreme circumstances where torture could be justified in order to prevent greater harm, mainly to other victims. However, he also states that this practice still implies significant moral issues for the victim and for the torturer. And his main argument is that the moral integrity of the victim is violated by making him turn against himself, and this is a cohesion that represents damage to the victim's sense of self and sense of moral agency, and therefore torture is not acceptable under any circumstance because it violates human dignity, moral agency, and the sense of self of the victim.
So I'm gonna say my part, starting for the first argument, will be that the violation of the human dignity. In this part, actually, the natural law express that we have three fundamental rights for human being. We can say that is the right of life, the right of different thoughts, and beginning with this part, seeing the view of Platon and Aristoteles, they actually recognize that the humans, being in different possess of inherent dignities, sometimes this torture is not gonna protect this part. So it's actually says that they are gonna do extreme physical and psychological suffering to the person, and actually is gonna attack directly to the dignity of this person. So that's why I can say I'm not favored to this part of doing the torture, because they sometimes justify torture to extract different kind of information. We can see this maybe in some parts of war, maybe when we have a different, or no, I could say when we have a case that is actually big, we can say that 11/12, I think it was, that they actually got some person that actually do the torture to extract different kind of information. And if you start applying this torture, it means that you are not gonna respect the human rights, and also you are not gonna respect the human dignity of every person. And you can say that you are not gonna respect also the constitution that you have. You are not gonna respect the natural law that is actually gonna apply to every person. And actually, so that's gonna be my first statement. And the second one will be the universal rights. So expressing that we have different international laws that are going to protect these cases, and also it's going to say to it to different countries that you need to protect the fundamental rights, and also you're going to open different doors to maybe they are going to abuse these rights, but you need to seek different protections. You need to seek different ideas that you need to apply to the society for there not going to be torture. So that's why I can say torture is not good. Torture is not the best thing. Actually, the torture is like a crime here in Mexico. They actually put it in the laws codes. And that will be all. I could say that those are my two arguments about the torture.
So, in conclusion, we are both against torture because, according to natural law, it goes against universal rights, human dignity, and our sense of self and self agency. And that is our final step.
Thanks a lot.